Assalamu alaikum. I am Parvez Khan. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in Kohat University of Science and Technology. The subject is Media Law, Ethics and Literacy. The course code is JMC 351. Under the topic of evolution of media, what we are going to discuss today is old versus new paradigm and essential shared values of journalism. So let's talk about the objectives. Like students, after attending the session, will be able to understand essential journalistic values. Apart from that, they will be able to understand that journalistic values remain the same despite the advancement in technology, or no matter how fast or speedy the journalism get. But they will be able to understand that the core values of journalism remain the same, and they will have a very good, a strong understanding of the old and new paradigm and how it affects their ethical decisions and how it affects the journalism and how it changes the journalism around them. So why are we discussing them? Because we want to understand the paradigm shift and the values of journalism, and to understand that if the technology is speedy enough, would it affect the journalistic core values, the standards of journalism, and apart from that, it will also help students to be aware of the changes occurring in their discipline in the field. So since we know that journalism is changing, it's also an evolutionary process, because if the world is changing, even the dynamics of journalism also changes with it. The technology, the speed, the different platforms, they all together form different kinds of journalism. And a key question to ask here is that, will the essential values of journalism, essential shared values of journalism, remain the same despite the changes in technology? So we talk about the paradigm shift because, as Thomas Kuhn is a big name associated who described this term, that it means fundamental change in basic concept and approach of a scientific discipline. For example, if there's an old model of journalism which used typewriters, and with the advent of internet, now you're using voice recorders, or you can text to speech, or a software that can record your voice. So that's a paradigm shift from typing, and now you can just talk and can record. So yes, journalism has changed. It used to be very slow, and it used to be very different from what it is now. Before the technology, before the immediacy, before the speed, journalism were different. So we call that traditional journalism, and now we can say that this is the new paradigm with the speed, with the technology, with the internet, with the social media, with the bloggers. This is we call paradigm shift. We'll talk more about it in the discussion later on. And as Thomas Kuhn discusses, that a paradigm shift is not a neat and tidy transition. It is a revolution, a transformation in which one conceptual worldview is replaced by another. So it's not just that the typewriters have been changed, or we have fancy keyboards, or text-to-speech softwares, or live satellites, or live images through Facebook. But it also changes the entire way things work, because previously journalism was a one-way ticket. Whatever the editors or the reporters thought, it would reach audience and there would be no feedback. Now things have changed. Within moments you can understand, with the moments you can search the top trending stories, with the moments you can get into people's mind what they're thinking, and it has changed entirely the way journalism has been done. But what is the true purpose of journalism? Is it to just get into people's mind, to get the viewpoint of mobs, or what the people, or are there certain values that needs to be determined when we're talking about journalism? So speed and technology has changed the way we interact and behave, and this is what I was saying. Obviously, if you were dialing a phone, you used to wait for someone to pick up at the other end, and you never knew in the old phones, the analog phones, that who is going to be the one picking up the phone. There was a lot of uncertainty. You would wait. If you're posting a card or posting a mail, it would take days to reach the desired destination. But now it has changed. You can directly email individuals. You can directly call people on their mobile phones or their smartphones or through WhatsApps. So this has changed the way the world is going on at the moment, and it is having an impact on how journalism has changed along with it. So paradigm shift has changed conventions and expectations for how journalism serves citizens. like the values of journalistic practice are more necessary than ever for the development and sustenance of democratic process. The conventions have changed. People want speedy news. People want to know about things, and certainly a video gets viral. People want to get into it. First, a viral video gets leaked on different social media platforms, and people are ready to read about it through popular sites. Just verify news on some proper journalistic website to understand whether it's fake or not. This is how people normally do that. If they see a video getting viral, they read more about it. They go and search links about it, and and this is what's happening. It does not deprive the citizens' need for balanced, accurate, relevant, and credible information. They still need that. Whether it's happening or not is a separate question. The lines have been blurred between entertainment, infotainment, news. That's another question. But do citizens really need balanced, accurate, relevant, and credible information? Well, that's the question we are going to talk about, and that's important because no matter how much the technology changes, the need for balanced, accurate, relevant news is always there. One cannot deny the importance and significance of balanced news in this context. And the unique social responsibility of those who call themselves journalists is to provide balanced, accurate, relevant, and complete information to the audience member to the best of their ability. Now, this is important. Like, we need to focus on the role of journalists. Now, these days we see YouTubers, bloggers, anyone with a camera, a mobile, or smartphone, they just go out and they think they're journalists. But is journalism just about collecting news, just about portraying, highlighting, showing something? Or is it to provide balanced, accurate, relevant, and complete information to the audience members? Credibility, once again, is a big question. So, no matter how many videos you see, how many viral stuff that comes pouring through the social media, online networks, the element of credibility will always give strength. And this is what democracy is looking forward to. This is what democratic countries and democratic institutions focus on. That journalism is of key value when it focuses on a balanced, accurate, relevant, and complete information. Because without this, one-sided information or biased information, that can lead towards anarchy, that can be problematic. But that's what's happening on social media sites. People are saying things, but this does not mean that social media is a bad platform or it has hurt or it has overshadowed the traditional values of journalism. But along with the changes, one needs to accept that no matter what happens, changes will occur, and these one should be equipped to understand these changes because these can be utilized for the benefit as well. Now, what are the forces that are opposing traditional journalism? What are the changes that came, the speedy journalism that came? For example, as you see, saw the picture of lots of cameras, satellite technology for imagery. It changed the way journalism happened. For example, when we went to the initial days, when we went to the broadcast television journalism channels, TV channels, it was very difficult for us because we will be connected live, we will be asked questions live, we will be asked to explain what's happening, and that is not easy. The traditional journalism was calm, cool. You would verify information, you will go to multiple sources, you will be confident enough for the information. But for example, if a blast takes place and you're asked to reach and cover, you'll be direct, you'll be going, the speed is there, images is there. But since the public need to know the information is high, that's why you do it. That's why people watch it. This is what journalism is, that no matter what happens, public has a right to know. And if the story is significant enough, you have to show them, you have to tell them. And it creates pressure on the journalist because it's speedy, but that's what has changed. Satellite technology has changed the shape of journalism. You can show things live. You can connect live from anywhere, from no matter the cricket matches are live or the news events are happening. It has changed the way journalism used to take place. Similarly, internet has changed with the speed, with the broadbands, with the high bandwidths. Everything has changed when it comes to journalism as well. Because no matter what you do, you can upload a video from your smartphones. It can go viral in minutes. You can go coverage. You can record. You can share news. It has changed within the last 10, 15 years. Everything has changed so much. The news getting viral, the speeds, The stories getting shared on different social media platforms, the images see, all these things are happening, the uploads and downloads, and the world has changed. The journalism has changed. You cannot stick. You cannot wait for a long period of time. You cannot wait for gatekeepers to edit your story, wait, and then you have to do it because public wants to know it immediately. The audiences want to, the online users want to know it immediately. So that's the change. Internet has revolutionized the way journalism is being done. And in addition to that, there are 24-hour news cycles and updates, and even the television news channels. You can see that it's always feeding it. There's always something. You cannot leave a news channel absent for like 12 hours. People want to know, no matter if it's late hours in the night, you have to give the information. You have to tell the audience something is going on. That was never the case before. It changed with the live transmissions, and it further revolutionized with internet coming its way. And then we have the blurring lines between the entertainment, news, advertising, and opinion. Social media, people will post something, it may be regarded as news, it may be a one-sided opinion, it may be entertainment, it may be that it is backed by the sub-advertising company. So there's lots and lots of elements to there. So satellite technology, internet, and 24-hour news cycles, and the blurring lines between news, entertainment, all these things have changed the face of journalism, and these are the forces that oppose traditional journalism. And according to Robert Giles, mastery of new technology is not a substitute for journalistic skills and values. Like I taught, like you may be the master of new technology, it may be, but it's not a substitute for journalistic skills and values. It's separate. You need to have nose for news. You need to have a sense of news. You need to know the essential core values that define journalism. But anyway, traditional journalism will always be challenged with a newer version. Even the previous traditional journalism was challenged by the newer version of that time. So evolution will always take place. Traditional paradigm. Well, traditional paradigm would seek external discoverable truth, and if there is no single truth present, they will present two opposing sides of the story, try to balance it. And similarly, they will use source with expertise. The reliance on source will always be there. The focus will be more on objectivity, to present the news as balanced as you can. And similarly, uh, it will be for the consumption of general mass audience, not identify, not particular groups, but for general audience. That's how news used to be designed in the traditional paradigm. And it was majorly a one-way communication, like after a whole day spending editing, writing, or presenting, even production of television, you would present it to the audience, and that's how it used to work one way. There used to be no immediate feedback like comments in the Facebook or something like that. That eventually sometimes you need to have you used to have feedback in letters, but that was very slow. That was different. So it's about presenting two opposing sides of the story, and then talk about objectivity and authority. But that was even problematic because your reliance on sources itself could be problematic. That you used to go to just a particular reliable source, and it could be from the power centers themselves, and the power centers can manipulate, and that could be the only news you could have. For example, if there's a attack in some country, and all you go is to ask the only military officials of that country that what's happening, they will present their view. So you don't get to know the audiences or the people on ground. So that used to happen for a long time in journalism. Strong reliance on sources could be problematic as well. Now we talk about the newer paradigm. In newer paradigms, people notice issues and events, and they use their own reporting and as well as open sourcing. There are lots of information available, lots of videos get viral, and you can get information, you can get insights from that. Recently, we've seen a lot of videos getting viral in Pakistan. After watching that, many top journalists of Pakistan would give their own analysis on Twitter and Facebook. This is what's happening. This has changed the way journalism used to happen, because you have everything. You didn't go out because since we see the situation, there's a lockdown. People are not going out much. But in sitting inside your home, by connected to the internet, you can have information. You can see how the people are interacting, how the people are responding, and then you have your own opinion, which you share with your own followers or viewers who are following you as a journalist. So this has changed a lot. And similarly, You can filter through journalistic perspective. You can see lots, you can read a lot about different news organizations. What are they saying? You can filter what's coming out of it. And the major thing about the consumption by target audience, that who provide feedback. That's a very, very powerful point. You understand where the things are going. You understand the pulse of the news. You understand the pulse of what's happening, and you can really feel the heartbeat of what's going around you. So this has changed. So new versus old again. Let's talk about it. Traditional paradigm may ignore the responsibility towards citizens, because sometimes some stories, when they break out, like for example some stories in Pakistan recently broke out, but the public interest was so high, many news channels may have ignored to cover the stories, but a lot was happening on social media. And when public demands high on social media, then news reports and all kinds of happenings that also take place on alternate social media space takes place. So people, so this is what happens. Traditional media may ignore, but the new media may focus and may force journalists or the journalistic organizations or the news organizations to produce content that they want. This did news happen previously, and objective press can be manipulated by those in power. As I said, that relying solely on objectivity, that you are an impartial person, that you're not going to cover even with biasness, that's changed a lot, because some stories needs your active participation, and critical scholars believe that you need to be an activist as well at some times when it's a bigger cause. So objectivity is a big question now. It can be manipulated. Your access to information can be limited. Only those who wants to present a particular version of a problem, if they keep coming and if they keep giving answers, if they keep coming and getting coverage, that's going to be problematic. And this is what used to happen in the old and traditional paradigm. Objectivity versus what citizens need, and this is a question that what how Senator McCarthy exploited journalism is a very good example. That previously in the old paradigm, people in power would give statements like McCarthy, Senator. I'll share that example with you soon, and how he accused people of communism and following the being followers of communist regime, and how Edward R. Murrow got around him in new ways by following new patterns of journalism, how he questioned him, how he cornered him, and his voice became voiceless in the end. So that was partly because of new tactics and the rising emerging television in America. Edward Armour, we've already seen the film Good Night and Good Luck, so you know the context to it about who McCarthy was and who Edward R. Murrow was and how he got around him. But before that, there was a certain period when McCarthy had strength, because if people were quoting people in power, that's the only version that used to come. That was a dominant version. But it changed with television. It changed with documentaries, how documentaries were presented, how the facts were shown. That changed the way of journalism. So that's a very good example of how Edward R. Murrow got around it, and it was possible because of the new technologies and the new ways documentaries were being done. And new paradigm and challenges are there. New paradigm obviously relies more on crowd mentality, how people are feeling, but that does not mean that what crowd feels is the absolute version of reality. So this is once again brings into question that are there any shared values of journalism that we need to focus on. So bloggers may seem independent to corporate groups, because big media channels may seem big corporate groups, and people say that no, we want independent writers. We may write independent bloggers who can present us facts. But are they biased? Do they present their version of the world? Are they can they impose their worldview on us? That's also a big question, because if we are trying to avoid corporate organization, but remember that even corporate organization has a channel, has a way of presenting news, presenting facts, and their editors, and compared to that, relying solely on one person, that can also be problematic. So new paradigm also brings certain challenges, because we may see that bloggers may be influencing their worldview on us. And then citizens have the right to multiple alternate opinions. So this is another challenge, and which to some extent this new paradigm addresses, that they have access to it. But filtering out fake news, filtering out the accuracy, that remains a challenge, because if you're exposed to so many things, like if there's a big propaganda machinery in a particular country portraying false news, and all you have access is to those false news, then that can be problematic. So let's talk about towards the end values sustained across culture, time, and paradigm shifts. What are the values? Journalists should strive to publish news accounts that are balanced, accurate, relevant, and complete. As I said initially, this is the core essential value of journalism. The second one is we have to journalists should strive to publish those news accounts without causing preventable harm, and there should be no harm, but they should be published account without causing preventable harm. And this is important. The journalists should strive to give citizens information needed for self-governance so that they can guide themselves, they can understand, they can get the essence of it, whatsoever. So these are the core values that publish news accounts that are balanced, accurate, relevant, and complete. This happens across all platforms, no matter which medium you are using, no matter if it's the old paradigm or the new paradigm. And they should strive to publish news accounts without causing preventable harm. If the public need to know information is high, you must share. Otherwise, if it's going to cause harm, the news must be avoided. So the strive to give information and self-governance. So these are some key values that citizens information needed for self-governance, so they can guide, they can understand, they can rely on the information. Citizens have the right to know. So this was an interesting topic, that no matter how many changes happen, if you are in old paradigm or we're talking about traditional journalism or new journalism, the essential core values of journalism remain same. However, the way we do it will change, the way we work on it will change, and this is going to cause an impact on the way we practice journalism. But to summarize and to conclude once again, the essential core values of journalism will always be the same no matter what the medium. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session. We'll be in touch. Thank you very much and have a good day. Goodbye.